as I said in an introduction, we are going to learn about creatine. And let me tell you, I brought the guru of creatine here on the show today. It's Dr. Jeffrey Stout. He's a PhD and professor and founding director for the School of Kinesiology and Rehabilitation Sciences at the University of Central Florida College of Health Professionals and Sciences. He is recognized as a national and international scholar in the field of kinesiology, but he is the world's leading researchers on creatine and other dietary supplements. Are you ready for this? Throughout his career, he has co-authored more than 300 peer-reviewed publications, 300 national and international presentations, 9 books, 13 chapters focusing on nutrition, exercise performance, and body composition in youth and older populations. So the first question I'm going to ask, I'm assuming you're taking creatine, and I think you must be doing it for stamina because there's no wicked way you could do all that. That's a lot of books, a lot of presentations.
That's a lot of help from colleagues.
I know, I know. There's no I in team. I get that. I
Right.
get that. All right, Dr. Stout, I am so excited to talk to you about this because all I'm hearing about is creatine, creatine. And, I knew it from way back that, athletes used it, people in the gym used it, but now it's kind of expanding through the lifespan. So, first of all, can you tell our listeners and viewers what is creatine?
Yeah, creatine is what we'd call an organic compound that's naturally occurs in the body. It's primarily found in the muscle tissue
Hmm.
and in the brain and some other organs. And when you think of creatine, think of energy. It's the
Okay.
most important aspect of creatine is ensuring the supply of energy when the body needs it.
Oh, great. So it's kind of like, helps with fueling throughout your day, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, how can you get in the diet, or do you have to take a supplement? Can it get in the diet?
Yeah, actually, our body naturally makes about 1 to 2 grams a day. And from is some considered non-essential amino acids.
Hmm.
So we can get those in our diet. And you can also get creatine in your diet from basically animal-based foods, so
Okay.
fish and meat.
Okay. Oh, good. Which I love both of those. That's great. All right. So we can get it in the diet. And you said that you can get about a gram. Did you say a gram a day from the diet? Or did I read that from one of your fabulous papers?
No, that's correct. So an omnivore's diet
Mhm.
typically eats about 1 to 2 grams a day.
Okay. Okay. Now, in giving body energy, I know athletes have been on this forever, like in the 1980s. So, for an athlete would use creatine, tell me how it might help an athletic performance.
Yeah, so it's very important as part of muscle contraction process, right?
Hmm.
So when our muscle contracts, we use something called ATP. It's the
Hmm.
energy currency, right?
Hmm.
So creatine, which is stored in the muscle as phosphocreatine,
Hmm.
it helps to regenerate ATP. So ATP is used, it's broken down, but it's regenerated by phosphocreatine.
Okay.
And so when it does that, it can maintain ATP sort of generation with the speed of contraction. So if you're like sprinting or you're lifting a heavy weight, you need a lot of ATP really, really fast. And the only thing that can help maintain ATP at that level is creatine.
No kidding.
So
Wow.
phosphocreatine is again that energy that's needed for explosive sort of movements is what it's primarily doing. Now, if you don't need ATP that fast of a rate, then you can use carbohydrates or you
Right.
can use fat. As we sit here, our muscles are not doing much, so we don't need phosphocreatine for that.
Right. So if you have somebody like going to sprint real fast versus do, a 3 or 5 mile run at leisure, it's more important for the sprinting right that fast. Is that it?
That's right.
Right.
That's
Okay.
right.
Okay, good. Now, I've read when it comes to athletes that it may go beyond just helping them energize or really give more energy to their workouts, that it may help with post workouts and more importantly, injury? Can you explain this?
Yeah, so the amazing thing about creatine and some of the research, especially recently, is its ability to help recover muscle. So if you take creatine after you work out,
Hmm.
usually it's with carbohydrate, there's been
Hmm.
research to show that it helps replenish that lost energy. So not just creatine, but also carbohydrate. It helps accelerate its storage. The other thing it helps in preventing sort of injury is preventing fatigue. So when you think of creatine, think of anti-fatigue, think of
Okay.
energy.
Right.
So fatigue is the cause of injury, it's the cause of wins and losses, it's the cause of many things, even cognitively. So the thing about creatine is it's always there. It's a fast energy resource to make sure that we do not fatigue before we're supposed to.
But
And
the
so,
key, I was gonna say, the key sounds like it's gotta always be there. So
yes,
yeah, okay, that's what we're going to get to. It has to always be there.
yes.
And so, I read your fabulous paper, to which we're going to put up on the Spot on Facebook page for people that want to really dive more deeply into this. Um, but I've read that from your papers that it may actually help with concussions. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways in which the thing amazing about the brain is
Hmm.
that it's 2% of our body weight, but it takes up 20% of all the energy that we consume a day or we use a
Wow.
day. And so ATP again is very important for neurotransmission in the brain. And it happens again at a very high rate. Now, under very stressful conditions, and one of those being like concussion,
Hmm.
right? You get the occlusion of blood, so you don't have oxygen available to create energy, which is another way to create energy. You have creatine. And creatine is that reservoir of energy to prevent potential damage or additional damage from the concussion. And so the creatine we're finding out is extremely important for brain energy metabolism. Um, it's that emergency reservoir of energy in case especially under stressful events like a concussion or a TBI or um, it could be sleep deprivation.
Which a
So
lot of us experience. This is fascinating to me because we're hearing so much about football players, professional football players, and concussions and long-term effects. And now I'm reading it can go into like little league football, whatever you call that. For children.
yeah,
So
scary.
yeah, it is scary. And so this sounds like it could be a sort of a preventative thing after the game, or to make sure you have enough creatine on board. I'm just pulling that out of the air.
No, in fact, my kids participate in a contact sport, any contact sport.
Mhm.
I would recommend they take creatine
Yeah,
as a
okay.
as a prophylactic because there is really good animal data. Of course, we can't do this experiment on humans,
Right.
but really good animal data showing that it does protect, and actually attenuate some of the damage that you may get from some sort of concussive sort of event. And this includes tactical or people, in the military, when
Right.
an explosive device or whatever. These are things that are can put a tremendous amount of stress on the brain, and having that creatine reservoir there is very important for protection.
That's actually amazing. Now, we're going to get to the supplements a little farther into this episode. But so after a workout, when you said, okay, you want to make sure you have enough creatine, are you saying like, and you want to have carbohydrates? So right away, as a registered dietitian and nutritionist, I'm thinking, okay, carbohydrates, protein. So let me think after a workout, chocolate milk. Would that
Yeah.
get it, or not enough animal? Tell me.
No, any kind of post-workout drink, and then if you throw in some creatine in there, I think is very
Okay.
helpful. I'm a big fan of chocolate milk. If
Right,
people
right.
know me, they know I'm a big fan of chocolate milk as a post-workout drink. So, yeah, but there's so many things to talk about with creatine. I brought that up as an example, but hopefully somebody had already been taking creatine so that you top off what we call your muscle stores, and so that your recovery is much faster anyways.
Right.
The additional benefit of adding creatine to a post-workout drink is it helps sort of increase the absorption of those carbohydrates into the muscle for faster recovery.
Wow, we're getting two for the price of one here. So
Yeah.
you're saying that in the milk is not enough creatine by itself, but you would be adding some more. Is that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Milk doesn't have enough. Yeah.
All right. When you said animal, I went right to the cow. So, okay, now I'm gonna go roast beef sandwich. Okay. So then I
Yeah.
get the bread and I get the roast beef. Okay, I got it.
There
I
you
got
go. Gotcha.
it. Okay. So athletes, post. Wow, that's amazing. Now what I want to talk about, what I'm finding out is through the lifespan. And I don't I'm getting to the point where, sarcopenia, Dr. Stout, is, waving at me. Okay. So tell me, what are you learning about this?
Wow. Well, sarcopenia is something I've been researching for about 20 years now.
Wow.
And there's something called the brain muscle axis. I don't know if
Hmm.
you've ever heard of that before.
No. Mm-mm.
So when the brain and the muscle communicate with each other all the time, and one of the things that happens when you exercise is that you release these compounds out of your muscle called myokines. There's
Hmm.
tons of different kinds of myokines, right?
Hmm.
And one is called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotropic sort of. It's a hormone that sort of is beneficial and helps neurons grow and multiply, right?
Hmm.
So when we exercise, those myokines are released. They go to the brain, and it helps the brain. So a lot of times when we have person who is over the age of 65 exercise, they get a cognitive benefit from it. And we've shown that in a few
Mm.
studies. So, so how does creatine play into this? Well, creatine actually enhances some of these myokine releases. And if we can reverse sarcopenia, which you can, with the help of creatine, making those muscles bigger, you get more of these very wonderful myokines being released from the muscle that are very cognitive enhancing. And so you get this communication going back and forth, and how creatine can help with that is again helping with the muscle mass and the intensity of the workouts, or being able to continue to do workouts. So that's one thing that I think that is kind of new that people are discovering about creatine and its potential benefits. But we've always known that about exercise
Right.
being beneficial.
Right. That's amazing because I'm like, here I go again. I'm from New Jersey, so I'm so sorry, but it's why I always shop in my head like I'm looking for bargains. So with creatine, I may be getting two for the price of one with sarcopenia, in that it will be potentially helping, maintain lean muscle mass, but also cognitive. Maybe? No?
Yes. Oh, yes. So another thing is that as we age, again, I'm getting up there in the 60s, and
Oh, you
so
are not. You don't even look it, for God's sakes. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm almost 60. But we have this decline in creatine levels in our brain. And a lot of that has to do with our diet. We tend to eat less meat, as
Yep.
we get older. Um, and uh, and because of that, we're finding that people over the age of 65 tend to benefit more cognitively. And again, when the brain starts to decrease in creatine levels, it's stress. So you have also this what we call stressed brain sort of complex, where uh, you have the chronic effect, which is diet or aging, which
Mm-hmm.
reduces creatine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the acute stress, that's concussion we talked about, or the lack of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It could be just social stress.
Mm-hmm.
Those stresses are actually primed for creatine supplementation.
Wow.
So that's in research, that's where we're seeing the most benefit for people who have lower levels of creatine, like vegans or
Mm-hmm.
vegetarians,
Mm-hmm.
or people over the age of 65, or the acute stress of lack of sleep or whatever. That's where creatine does its magic when it comes to cognitive benefits.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, for the maintaining lean muscle mass and body mass, um, do you have to do the resistant exercises, or this is not magically going to work by itself? Tell me. I know what you're going to
Yeah,
say, and it's going to upset me, but go ahead.
yeah, I would love to say, yeah, just take this and you don't need to work out, but there's so many good things about working out that creatine just amplifies. Again, creatine supplying that energy you need, but it's also doing some other good things as well as like I said, trying to enhance the release of those myokines that are very beneficial to our cognitive state.
How much resistant exercise do you have to do? And this is really just about me. I just want to tell you this right now because I love to walk and I must walk 5-6 miles a day. But I have tried to lift those weights. I have tried the bands. I have tried, and I just so just tell me again how much resistant exercise do I
You
need
know,
to do?
you know, this is this is a question that even as researchers we're asking because there's a lot of people like you
Yeah,
that you know, and so far the best method is having a personal trainer.
I know. All right.
And I know, but if, we always have this thing, if you can do once a week, it's good. And if you go twice a week, it's great.
Right.
So you don't have to be a bodybuilder and train with weights every day. There's times where I'll go for weeks where I only work out once a week
Right.
with weights. Most of the time I'll just do some sort of aerobic activity or walk like you do. But it is so important um, to lift weights because when I say lift weights, to do resistance exercise, which doesn't always mean lifting weights. You can do push-ups and sit-ups and those kind of things. But muscle mass is so important. And it's directly related to our mortality. So we want to keep as much of that as we can.
Mhm.
And so the more, and the only way to really do that is through resistance exercise, right?
Once again, you're right.
So
And what I love about what you just said is really spot on because everybody comes in with their own personal history and back pain, whatever. So you want to get right. Somebody who understands this, a personal trainer or something, to tell you how to do it correctly. Because I'd imagine you do it incorrectly, and then we got another problem. But that doesn't mean that you have to have a personal trainer the rest of your life. Maybe you can get a personal trainer with a buddy, and then you and the buddy just kind of make sure each of you do it twice a week. You know what I mean? I'm trying to cut some corners here, but I agree. Get advice because you could really do something silly that's not going to work when you're lifting weights.
that's right. And
Yeah, yeah,
you don't have to do these crazy lifts. I
yeah.
mean, they can be a little circuit that just one exercise on a machine weight that just gets every muscle group in your body. It
Right,
doesn't take much to stimulate the muscle, at the very least maintain itself.
right.
But
Right.
yeah,
There's no getting. I have to do it. There's no getting around it. I keep on waiting for someone to say, "Nah, you don't need it," but no one's telling me that. All right.
right.
Oh gosh. You know what I want to talk to you a little bit about because these anti-obesity medications, particularly the GLP-1s, where people are, many people are taking. We're seeing that when you're losing weight, well, actually, when you're losing weight anytime, you're going to lose lean body mass. But on these GLP-1s, especially if they're losing quickly. So I'm saying to myself when I was reading your paper last night, gee, would those on GLP-1s benefit with taking creatine? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I anytime you're losing weight, you're going to lose some muscle mass.
Right, right,
And to help keep some of that muscle mass, nothing like a nitrogenous compound like creatine to help
right,
maintain some of your muscle, but you still have to exercise.
right,
Yeah,
right,
the thing that's scary people go on those drugs is they don't exercise. And exercise will help prevent some of the negative aspects of losing weight. And sometimes there's no doubt that those drugs are helping people lose weight, and
Oh yeah.
weight itself is associated with all kinds of cardiovascular issues and stuff like that. So it's great that they're losing weight, but I always want people to try and lose as much as, I mean, try and maintain as much of their muscle as they can. And adding creatine to your diet, among other things, is very important when going on something like that.
Last season we did a whole episode with Dr. Jim Hill about these GLP-1. So anybody that wants to, learn more about it or review that can go to last season and listen to that on the Spot On podcast here. I want to know, here I go, it's all about me. So what's the story with creatine and skin health?
Mm.
Look at me. I'm like, look at me. Yeah.
Well, I know there's been some research on topical,
Yeah.
and I was trying to think of, well, how can it help, with uh, by consuming it? And the only thing I can think of is that it would help hydrate. So one of the things that
Mm,
creatine will do is it pulls in water. That's actually one of the side effects, right? So you gain a little bit of weight when you load with creatine, not necessarily when you just take a single dose a day.
mhm,
And that hyperhydrates you. So that
mm.
could have a positive impact on your skin as well. But I think there's more research that needs to be done
Right.
with
Right.
the skin
Oh
part of
yeah.
it.
You think the cosmetic industry, would just love another thing? So yes, well,
Oh yeah.
we'll stay tuned to that. I opened the saying, in this intro saying, how this creatine supplement market is predicted to go over 4 billion by 2030. If it goes into anti-aging, like forget it, I won't be able to find it. All right, this is what I want to know here. So if one was to take it, there's just you got to understand this how much and whatever, so give us some idea of how to do this.
So there are several ways you can do this, and it depends on what you're taking it for. One is I've taken creatine since 1993, and but I just take one serving a day. And that serving can be 3 to 5 grams a day. It could be
Okay.
in your post-walking shake. It can be
Mm-hmm.
uh, um, just one serving in the morning, whatever you want. And even if you have a diet that's low, so you naturally have low creatine levels, it will still it will take some time, but if you're taking in 5 grams a day, your muscles will be fully loaded within 30 days. That's what
Oh.
research shows us. So you don't have to take 20 grams a day. The other way, if you want to saturate your muscles right
Mm-hmm.
away, and usually athletes will do this, is they'll take 20 grams a day. So that's 5 grams 4 times a day. And usually you
Mm-hmm.
dissolve it in some sort of water, juice or protein shake or whatever you want to put in. When it was first studied, actually, it was in hot tea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but um, those are two different ways. Now, if you know that you're about ready to compete or do something where you're going to not get very much sleep, you
Mm-hmm.
can use it as a prophylactic, and you could take like 10 to 15 grams before you go out to do something.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people that will take it if they're traveling to Europe to compete,
I see.
and sort of because your brain's going to be stressed because your whole system's out of whack, right? So that stresses the brain out. um so typically though, I always recommend just one serving a day
All
is
right.
all
and
you
and
need.
and you said 5 grams of it. Is it
Yeah,
a powder or a capsule? Because I was looking, you can get it in either form.
yeah, I think powder's probably easier because that's a lot of capsules if you.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
imagine. Yeah, yeah. So
um
it's so okay. In my morning coffee, I'm gonna put this in. I mean, is this something you could do like that?
yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
great.
yep, you can put it in your coffee, and um just make sure that it's a good brand.
Yeah,
um
that's my next question, Dr.
yeah.
Stout. Here you
And
go.
there's a trademark. There's a lot of different manufacturing plants over the world, and
Mhm.
probably the best one is the trademarked Create Pure, and always go with creatine monohydrate.
Okay. Okay.
The monohydrate, 95% of all the research done, and we're talking tens of thousands of human studies, have been done with creatine monohydrate. There's a lot of other uh, forms out there that say creatine hydrochloride,
Mhm.
creatine whatever, and those are kind of gimmicky,
Mhm.
and they're trying to say that they absorb more. Well, creatine monohydrate absorbs 100%. So
Oh,
when they say it absorbs greater than creatine monohydrate, then and it also creatine monohydrate's the cheapest.
yes. You know, it's funny you
So
said that because I went on, did my due diligence, and I love Consumer Labs. What Consumer Labs does for people who've never used it, it kind of makes sure, tells you which is, the supplement that is the purest, doesn't have anything in it that you don't want, but the cheapest. It'll rank it by how much it costs per serving, whatever. And they were saying that too about the powder being cheaper and to do that. So that's another wonderful resource if people want to look into a little bit farther of what one would be a good one. Is there any downsides to this? Is there anybody that shouldn't be taking this?
well, you know, anybody who has pre-existing sort of conditions, whether
Mhm.
it's, severe kidney issues or um, any kind of issue that kind of will have their physician kind of question whether they should be taking any supplements. You always want to consult, especially if you're going through something that is under care of a physician. You always want to make them aware of any supplement you're taking, and creatine is no exception to that. Other than
Right.
that, the safety profile on creatine is incredible,
Yeah.
and it's yeah.
I always say that, if you're going to take a supplement, make sure you pass it by your healthcare provider. And especially, Dr. Stout, because you were just saying that it could be beneficial for people over this age of 65. Now, people over the age of 65 may be on other medication or have issues going on here. So that's why you really want to clear that in there. So I'm over the moon about this because I thought this was absolutely fascinating. I heard about creatine in the 80s and what has happened because you've been studying this from the 90s or whatever, 80s, whatever. And so much has evolved around this. And this is so, so exciting. Can you look in your crystal ball and see, is there anything else coming out about it?
Yeah, I mean, there's some exciting actually research coming out that I learned about. I mean, and I'm not an expert on, but we every 3 years we have an international conference on creatine.
Okay.
And so I got to see some of the latest and greatest, and a lot of it has to do with pregnancy and cancer, immune deficiency issues. And so expect to see some research coming out on that pretty soon. I was shocked. I had no idea. I mean, on some of that stuff. So you're going to see it more and more in the clinical realm, and it probably is going to be in combination with other sort of
Mhm.
medications to help offset. There's been a big effort on the neuromuscular diseases, MS and Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and those kind of things have been researched. There's been a lot of research on accelerating rehabilitation,
Mm.
but the new stuff is the cancer and the the female pre-menopause, post-menopause. There's a lot of that kind of research going on, and so it's pretty exciting,
It
actually.
is very, very exciting. I can't thank you enough, Dr. Stout, for coming on Spot On and talking about this. And first of all, I can't thank you. Thank you for starting to study this like decades ago, and being a forefront, researcher on this to help us all out. But boy, fascinating, fascinating, and thank you again for being on Spot On.
Well, thank you for inviting me.